core of the country.
For Doreen and John, maybe for you, for people and animals living near this, there are immediate and unacceptable impacts. There is heavy traffic. There is dust, air pollution, light pollution, and noise.
But this is just the start. Unconventional gas extraction is unlike anything we have seen before. It requires thousands of wells to be drilled. If exploration turns into production, trucks and tankers move machinery and service sites. Pipelines connect sites to compressor stations and gas processing plants. More tankers or pipelines are used to move water and waste to treatment plants.
Doreen and John were worried and concerned when this monstrous industry arrived on their doorstep. Now they see it for what it really is.
The industry has powerful friends with vested interests. It employs lobbyists to peddle lies and false promises. Unconventional gas is very expensive to produce. The industry needs high energy prices to make a profit. These gas wells decline quickly. Constant drilling and investment are needed just to stand still. All these energy sources are unsustainable. They threaten and damage existing industries and employment. The oil and gas industry has a dismal track record. It spends millions on publicity each year to discredit scientific studies and increasing evidence that it is unsafe, high risk and dirty.
Unconventional gas extraction pollutes our air. Air pollution is insidious and can be hard to detect. The industry actively pollutes clean drinking water. Water we all rely on for life. Wells fail, accidents happen, water is contaminated. The industry works to divide and undermine communities. When problems occur, families can find themselves stressed, sick, and trapped in houses they are unable to sell, insure, or remortgage.
Across the planet, people understand the threat of unconventional gas. In the US, communities are coming together to defend themselves and their right to clean air and water. In Australia, farmers and communities are locking the gates and taking direct action to stop the industry. In Europe, massive public protests have led to bans and moratoriums.
In Lancashire, Doreen and John have found other people in their community that feel the same as they do, and they are saying no.
What we've learned from what's gone on in America is that we can all be poisoned, I think, by stuff that's going into the atmosphere. There's also a problem with water going into the aquifer, poisoning the earth.
Definitely nobody at all will ever convince me that the chemicals that are going down are not going to get into the aquifer. I just cannot believe it. Like a roulette wheel, actually. You don't know what number they're going to drop on, and they don't know themselves. They don't know what they're going to do. And they don't really care, because they don't live here. They don't grow here. They don't bring the children up here. My message to the people of Lancashire and Britain would be, they've got to find out about fracking. They've got to find out what harm it's going to do. And we, unfortunately, in Lancashire, are the beginning of it. But people in other parts of the country have got to realise that it's coming to them as well. And we need to stop this now.
If you don't want a fracked future, do something. Share this film with your friends and family and spread the word.
Check the map to see if unconventional gas is coming to your area and follow these links to find out more.
A strong, well-organised community is the best defence against this industry.
Why not follow the example of these groups and start one in your area?
Thank you. You can share this video because it's on YouTube. Just key in Doreen's story. And if there's anyone here who hasn't got access to a broadband at home, we have got a little DVD disc that we can give you. It's a lovely little story, and it does encapsulate, it is in a nutshell, what fracking is about, the impact on the community, and it tells you just a little bit about the technology, and I'm going to now unpack that for you. People want to
Put the lights back on,
Yeah.
please.
Move along here.
There is plenty of place down here. You want to move down to the bottom, guys, so just for safety.
Move along here.
That's it.
Move along, please. Thank you.
Cheers. Appreciated. Brilliant. Can somebody switch the light on who's near the door? Can you switch the light on, love?
It was Sabrina here who organised this meeting, and myself, I'm Bridget, and this is Fiona.
Yeah, just feel free to take whatever.
Challenge tonight. We were going to show it on
logo.
a lovely screen here,
Against,
but
Fracking.
somebody didn't work with the projector, but we had a plan B. So I hope you can all crowd around and still get the most out of it. So Leona's over there, and when I wink to her, she moves it. She moves the slides on. I'm going to talk about the context first of all, because a lot about fracking, when you start to think about whether you agree with fracking or not, you really ought to start from a context, and the first context of 3 is peak oil. Yeah? Peak oil means that the traditional oil supply that we've come to rely on for over 150 years, and everything really we wear, eat or drink or live in or drive involves energy and oil in some way. And that is running down. And I've given you there a little graph that shows you just how nicely it's running down. It starts round about at the end of the 19th century, the 18th century, and then it's gradually, the use of oil and gradually rises. It's got a peak round about now, or say 10 years ago, and it's tailing off. Okay? And if you think about how we are almost addicted to the stuff, and we are running out of it, that kind of puts a context on the issue of shale gas and its exploitation. However, there is the second context of extreme or unconventional energy. So peak oil means that your traditional oil fields are running down, and what you've got now is a really extreme and desperate search for finding more supplies of the stuff. And I'm going to unpack that in a minute, because the 4 unconventional and extreme energy resources I'm going to talk about are the tar sands, underground coal gasification, coal bed methane, and hydraulic fracturing, which Doreen Story talked about. The key thing you need to remember about these unconventional energy is that it's very cost intensive. Let me give you an example. If, say, a traditional oil field, if you invested, say, a barrel of oil, you could probably get a return on that of, say, 10 or 12 barrels. So that was really a good investment, a very good return on investment. With unconventional energy, the game changes entirely. So if you invest 1 barrel of oil, the most you could hope for is 3, maximum 4 barrels. So it's a very expensive way of getting what is also second-grade oil. And the second point is that all unconventional energy extraction methods are environmentally damaging, and I'll show that in a minute. The third context is climate change. That was a lovely little graph I got off the YouTube, and it's supposed to show you the climate change between 1950 and now, and how the climate, how the globe, the colours
Guys, it does actually
lots of
showing
yellow.
the public
If you sort of
on the
see it,
fracking
if you happen to see
in
this online and it works, you
about
see that
50 odd
in
people
1950 it looked like
looking
that.
at it, so
By 2030
that's why I'm not
it
talking
was
as
a lot
loud.
hotter. There was a lot of yellow. So we are heating up.
There you go.
There is global warming, but it's not so much about stopping global warming, because we know it's here, and it's really quite irrelevant whether you believe or don't believe that human activity has anything to do with it. The point is that it is carbon emissions that make it worse. There is no disagreement about that. And climate scientists say, we can't stop climate change, but we can stop what they call a climate catastrophe, which is a tipping point where the globe warms up to such an extent. It's between 2 or 3 degrees. I have heard some scientists dare to suggest 4, but say that's an average of 3 degrees. If the globe warms up by that amount, you will have runaway climate conditions. So you have, they don't actually know what you're going to have. You're going to have the most ridiculous weather. And we know, we've already experienced some of them, the floods, the storms, the rains, the droughts and so on. And that is going to be a runaway. Nobody is putting any bets on it what that's going to be like. And so climate scientists say you can, hopefully, cross fingers, avoid a tipping point if you start to reduce carbon emissions. What causes carbon emissions is any amount of energy, like shale gas or oil, that you now lift out of the ground and burn and use. This is what they mean by reducing carbon emissions. They say very categorically, keep it in the ground. So very quickly, let me join the dots. You have got fossil fuel reserves that are running low. You have a panicky dash for gas by the fossil fuel industry. Now they've been doing very nicely for the last 150 years. Their shareholders depend on a good return on their investment. And if you look at the companies that invest in the fossil fuel industry, it's still the big pension funds, big banks, HSBC, and so on. So they all want their money. So obviously, they're going to say, let's go and take whatever we can at whatever cost, just to tide us over until we can think of another solution. Nobody seems to be saying, wow, let's all invest in new renewables for some reason, which I'll explain in a minute. But at the same time this is happening, the climate scientists say, keep fossil fuel underground. So this is the context in which any discussion about fracking or extreme energy takes place. I'm going to introduce you very briefly to 2 very, very nasty unconventional energy extraction methods. Is there anyone who hasn't heard of tar sands? Does everybody know about
There's one there, just one. There's one there. Just a few.
Because I'll talk a little bit about it. I actually, the adjective I would use is obscene. It is mainly shell that extracts the oil from the sands in Alberta here, where the sand is mixed with some sort of tarry sort of oil and clay. This the tar sands in Alberta is the size of England. It's the size of England. It used to be pristine forest, believe it or not. This is what it looks like now. They take the tar sand, transport it to a nearby chemical plant. The sand is then treated in a way which extracts the oil. The oil that it renders is a second-grade crude, and it is, at the moment, it is mainly the states that use it. But if you've heard about the XL pipeline that they are planning in the States, that runs from Alberta all the way down, I think it's in the Mississippi region or somewhere like that, that is designed to ship the oil abroad as well, because I think China is waiting for it, and I'm sure Europe is waiting for it as well. So this is tar sands. Downstream of these tar sands live the First Nation peoples who have been removed from the tar sand territory. And it probably doesn't surprise you that they experience a very high incidence of very unusual cancers, which are directly attributable to the heavy metals that are leaching into the waterways. The second one is underground coal gasification, and you're going to have that quite close, probably in the Wirral or offshore off the Wirral. There is also some applications for UCG, I call them, in Kent and up in Scotland. And in this method, and it shows you how extreme and desperate they are, they drill into an existing coal seam which is no longer viable for mining. And they set fire to it. The Doreen story showed it to you briefly. They set fire to it. And then the gases that then arise from that process are then sucked up and treated and fed into the mains. I understand from my research that this is actually a method very similar to what was used in the Victorian era, believe it or not. They used to produce gas like that, and it was discontinued because it was very polluting and posed a health risk. Let me now talk about coal bed methane, which is what is happening in Barton Moss. And there is an application for a coal bed methane drilling site before Trafford Council. It is similar to UCG in the sense that they drill down into the existing coal seam, but this would be a coal seam where there would be a lot of methane gas already there, accumulated over the years, centuries. Again, it'll be an old site, it'll be a coal seam that's not viable in any other way. And if you notice from the diagram, you can see how the drilling actually goes through the water table or aquifer. This also applies to UCG and fracking, and quite a few problems arise from that particular way of doing it. Again, they suck up the gas and then treat it, make it ready, process it for the mains grid. And that leads me on to the next one, which is sort of similar, in the sense that you're also going to drill through the aquifer. This particular picture there, this diagram, is slightly erroneous because it shows you the fracking site above the aquifer. Yeah? They drill down very low. They drill down roughly about 2,000 feet, really. Yeah, it's very, very low because what they're drilling into is shale rock. Shale rock is a very ancient rock, so you can imagine it was laid down very, very early on in the Earth's history. And the reason why they're drilling into the shale rock is because there you have little pockets of gas dotted about the place. And this is because the shale gas is impermeable, it's very tense, very dense and very tight. So if you look at the conventional oil field on your right, yeah, where you have the oil or the gas migrates into a hollow and settles there because it can move around. It's made natural. Yeah, I like that, don't worry, yeah. Yeah, I like that, it's sort of a nice background. You have, on the right-hand side, you have your conventional extraction. On the left, you have the unconventional, and you see that it's unconventional in that it goes right down, very, very low, into the shale rock, and then it goes horizontal. And I think this is eventually what made fracking a success story, because they did try it. They did try the idea of drilling into shale rock and exploding it and causing cracks to let the gas escape. They tried that in 1947 or thereabouts. But it makes sense to think, well, to realise that they didn't get very far because they didn't just get very much gas, because once you've fracked a little bit around, and you have sort of all the pockets. You have exhausted all the pockets within 5 minutes. So if you're going horizontal, and you go horizontal for 1 or 2 kilometres, this is why they say the government is trying to make sure, they're trying to bring out laws so that the fracking companies don't have to tell you when you're fracking on you. Yeah? Yeah, they don't have to tell you. Yeah? They go quite a long way underneath, explode,